The scene where Madeline gets killed is my favorite scene in the show. How long did that take? Well, it is because it's so intense. I mean, that show I thought was the most depressing program I've ever seen on TV. It was so depressing. And I was just wondering, how long did it take to film that?
It took us all day. First of all, nobody knew who the killer was. So when we did that scene, there were 3 people killing Maddie. So the crew wouldn't even know who the killer was. So there was Bob, there was Ray Wise, and then there was Benjamin Horn. And Cheryl Lee had to get killed by all 3 of us. She was like meat. By the end of the day, she was like a rag doll. But no, we had it was unbelievable because all of us had to do the scene for the master and then do close-ups, and then Cheryl Lee had to do it with all 3 of us, so that the crew wouldn't know who did it also. We had no idea. We just had right.
So none of the cast members knew until it actually aired?
Yeah. It was all a surprise to all of us. I didn't know. No one knew. No one knew at all. Cheryl Lee didn't even know. The only one who knew was Mark Frost and David Lynch. And Jennifer Lynch, she knew.
What you said about David, the whole creating as we evolve.
Right.
Do you know, or did you know then, where or how he was going to present the Bob character? Or more or less, how was he going to take the killer presented in the show? I mean, Bob, they created such a path to Bob.
Right. Right.
Such a, he was a god of living cross and healing.
Right.
He had a healing.
Right.
Life.
Right.
Did that all happen after the fact?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, most of the time, Bob was never scripted in the scripts. It was very rare that it was something that was scripted. It was something that was either spur of the moment or David thought of it at the last moment kind of thing.
So originally it was just for stills, of course.
Exactly. Because like when we did the original pilot, Al was telling about that one scene that this was after he had shot me at the end of the bed. He had also shot that scene with Grace Zabriskie sitting on the sofa. Well, then later and later, during the process of filming it, ABC kept saying, David, you've got to have a killer in this. You've got to have an ending. You've got to have an ending. Because it just didn't have anything. It just left people hanging. Exactly. But ABC kept, you've got to have a killer. You've got to have a killer. Well, at the last minute, even when we were doing hospital stuff, there were times when I was doing my job at the hospital, and David would look at me and he'd go, Frank, this was after the bed scene and the whole thing, he'd go, Frank, see that stretcher down there? I'm down there, move it. And I'd run down the hall at the pool. He'd be rolling camera, and I didn't know it. Then he'd go, okay, move it out of the way, now run back. I'd run back. And he'd roll camera. And I never knew this thing. Well, then he added the scene with Al, showing a picture of the one-armed man doing this whole thing. Well, the day that we were doing the town hall scene, which was actually the last day of filming on the mainland here, and the following day we were going to Bainbridge, to the Keone Lodge, to do Great Northern stuff, interiors. That's where the Great Northern interiors were. And it was actually Josie and Jack Hance's exterior was their house. We were getting ready to go there, but we were doing the town hall scene. Well, I was doing my job at the town hall scene, and I was standing next to David. He was like over here, and Debbie Tretnick, who was his secretary, was over here, and I was standing there talking. And David leans over and goes, Debbie, did you give Frank his scene yet? And I kind of like, scene? What do you mean scene? Yeah, did you give Frank his scene yet? Debbie went, no. Well, you better give it to him. We're shooting it after lunch. And I kind of like went, yeah, it's probably, you know, like one word or one line, the whole thing. So then Debbie comes, brings me the scene, and it's like this huge scene in this boiler room. And it's like this huge scene with Kyle, Michael Onkeene, Al's the one-armed man, and Bob is a reality in this scene. And he plays this whacked out, really schizophrenic, kind of drugged out kind of creature who works with the deformed people in the hospital. And he's like really out there. You know, he's like playing with candles in the basement of the hospital, and he's got this mound of dirt. And so they say, well, we're shooting this after lunch. So I look at this scene, and it's like a long scene. And there's like this monologue that Bob has to do. And David's going, well, see this, you know, we do this scene, and see these 4 lines here. And I said, yeah, he goes, well, that's a song, Frank. Make up a tune. And I went, what? He goes, those are lyrics. Make up a tune. Just make something up. So I was totally flipping out. I was like totally flipping out. Here I was, a part of the crew for like months. They're running around looking for a location. They hadn't even had the location for this scene yet. We're running late. It's like now it's probably 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. We have to catch the last ferry to Bainbridge at 1:30. We're still, you know, trying to shoot this stupid scene. So I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, and then I thought, you know, here I am. I'm a crew member. If I'm horrible, everybody's gonna laugh at me. I'm gonna be like this big joke, like a real big joke doing this scene. So it was like every ounce of energy, every ounce of everything was like drawn up. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Did you use cue cards?
Oh, yeah. That, Christy did cue cards for me because I hadn't had enough time to like learn lines. So she did cue cards. This room was like so small. And the first thing David does is goes, Christy, get out of here. I went, there goes my cue card. It was scary as hell. But that's kind of like how Bob all kind of like fell into it. But then he was a reality. He was a drugged out, weird character. Question? Yeah.
I have a question about the magazine.
Uh-huh.
Bob slash George Ben Moore, George, and Bob, all 3 had shooting of killing her.
Right.
I didn't have really morbid, but did you all feel the same way?
Uh-huh.
Did you all have it was all
Yeah.
the same?
Everything was kind of choreographed, and all of us did the same thing.
So I didn't think Ben would do that.
Yeah, we all did the same thing. We all did exactly the same thing. Yeah, where are my cue cards? Well, the song was, and tales of running for your scalp. Nightfall, morning call, catch you in my dead bag.
In the context of reality, how do you, what is your sense of how people experience you when you go to the supermarket?
they'll stare at me.
How do you feel toward them? I mean, do you feel?
I'm flattered. I mean,
Okay.
it's flattering. I mean, it's a compliment. But people are, they kind of like don't, I can always tell when they've acknowledged it, because but then they're kind of like freaked out by it. And they kind of like wait before they like come up and say something. What's real interesting, and in fact, I just told David Lynch about this the other day, is I work part-time at this antique shop in LA, and across the street from this antique shop is a real-life Bob. It's really weird. It's real weird. It freaks me out. I mean, he's like real-life Bob. He's skinny, he's got long, gray, dirty hair, parted in the center, and he lives in, this is another thing that's like so bizarre about it, is that he lives in this green building. There's a neon sign that's broken out in front, and it's called the Blackburn Lodge. Swear to God. Swear to God. And every now and then I'm like at work, and he's like really whacked out, and I think he's like, something's wrong. He like walks around like this. Great, Lisa. He walks around like this. And he'll come to the window of the antique shop, and he just stands there and stares. And it freaks me out. Totally. And David like flipped out when he heard about this. It's weird. It's really weird. No, I'm dying to get a picture of it. But the Blackburn Lodge. He might put me out of a job.
Why do you feel that ABC did not pick you or 100%?
I think they just thought it was a little too weird. A little too wacky for them.
But they got a response initially.
Absolutely, but ABC is just strange when it comes to new television. I just don't think that they understood what was happening. I mean, Twin Peaks changed the face of television, I think.
But how is it that they agreed to do it in the first place?
Well, I think that they agreed to do it with some trepidation, though. I mean, they weren't wholeheartedly behind it. I mean, there was lots of. They would never give us a full season. They would go, oh, okay, you got 6 episodes. Oh, okay, you got 13 episodes. Oh, okay, let's give 18. They never committed. They never said, oh, here's a second season full. It was just they were never upfront and honest, I think.
After the film came out, there was talk about a lot of excessive footage that was shot in the film, and also about sequels being planned with Jeffrey's character, things like that. Did you have anything? Was any of that true, or was that all?
Well, a lot of David. First of all, David shoots like mad. When he shoots. And there's a lot of stuff that was not in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. David has a tendency to really shoot a lot of footage. So that he has a lot to work with in the cutting room, but a lot got cut out. And as far as something happening, ending it all, I have no idea. Al and I were talking earlier that we think it would be great to have that third part of that trilogy, whereas the original pilot is the first, then Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me being the second, and then have a wrap up, have an end. And find out what all people have to find out ourselves.